There's this not so crazy statistic. CMOs are the most fired role in management teams in the world of startups. And the reason for that is going to be very different from what you think. The average marketing leader in a startup will usually survive between 12 to 16 months. Now, there are many speculations to the reason why CMOs and marketing leaders find themselves out of a job, and while there's really great articles about this online, the reason I'm going to give you is much more data-driven. When asking CMOs why they think they lost their job, they're going to give a ton of different answers. When you ask the CEOs why they had to say goodbye to a CMO, you start getting a very consistent group of answers that usually revolve around unit economics and the business metrics. Many different CMOs that go to work in startups forget that the startup are businesses that burn cash, that they're not profitable. And what happens is that a lot of times a startup will move in the timeline and will start to get questions around unit economics, business metrics, and profitability. When CMOs join a startup and they start focusing on brand awareness and storytelling and all these kinds of things like website redesign, that's when they start losing precious time that they were supposed to probably put into building the foundation for future profitability. Let me put this in very simple terms in case this is confusing. The marketing leadership that exists in the world of startups is not business-minded. And the world of startups from 2024 going forward is going to be very business-minded. You can't look at the future of startups like the past of startups. Any marketing leader that doesn't think in terms of efficiency, in terms of payback periods, in terms of creating lower CACs and higher AOVs is not going to survive a long time. It's basically going to be musical chairs between different professionals and leaders and the different startups. Now you're probably thinking right now that I'm faulting all the CMOs on what's happening, but actually the biggest issue is the CEOs. The CEOs of startups are probably the most uneducated people when it comes to how does a good marketing professional look like in the environment we are currently in. There's many questions that CEOs don't ask, like, did you ever move a company into profitability? Have you ever scaled a business 10x? These are questions that CEOs skip when they interview potential marketing leaders. So if you're hiring someone who never turned a profit in a business, if you're hiring someone that never 10x a different startup, why does the CEO think that this is a good hire? Now, I'm assuming that you're probably asking yourself at this point, what do all these CMOs who lose jobs do after they lose their job? And the answer to that is they become fractional CMOs. They start basically doing a fifth or a quarter of the job in between different startups. And the reason why startup CEOs are opting into this weird situation is because they need someone to run marketing. They just don't need someone full time because they don't see the value. If you're a CEO watching this video and you sticked around until now, here is the formula to solving all the problems around this big issue. And that is to find people who know how to do demand generation, people who know how to build demand for a company. The number one trait that is missing in the modern CMO is the ability to create demand. Most CMOs, at best, will know how to generate leads, but generating demand is a whole different scenario. Everything around demand generation surrounds around the world of scale to bring in more and more people to grow what every startup needs, because that is what is usually the stamp of approval of product market fit meets growth. To summarize, the CMOs in the startup space will get fired more often. That is just a reality based on the following facts. They are not equipped to build scale from scratch, not understanding how to look at everything from a business perspective, creating unit economics and data-driven decisions. If you found this video useful but you still have questions, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, direct message me, and hopefully I can give you some guidance or direction to whatever challenge you have with your startup.